Hello loves. Today's video is a little bit difficult to make, but felt very appropriate that this send-off be one that is shared with the community, because my teacher Levity, who's no longer physically here, gifted me her energetic healing and shamanic line through her teachings and through our work together. And it's something that when we all connect, you're also connecting with her lineage, a lineage that she was very proud of and really, really deeply honored in her spiritual path. And my outfit today is in Levity's honor. Levity was an opera singer as well as a shamanic teacher. She trained with North American, Native American shamans, and she took her lineage very seriously, but she also very much believed in the importance of dress and costume when it came to the work that you were doing. And she was she could be a very harsh teacher, but she taught me lessons that I really needed to learn to hold the space that I was going to be holding in my own work. And her love, much like I described Kaliedos in the week that we just finished up here on the channel with Kali, her love was strong enough to be harsh when it needed to be truthful when it needed to be, and to call you on your bullshit when you needed to be called on that. But part of one of the trainings I took with her, she gifted me her original Rider-Waite-Smith reading deck from the 70s. And many of you know on the channel that I still have been working with this deck. And I actually didn't really work with it professionally until after she passed. It was a personal deck up until that point, when it then became very clear that it was a way of connecting and calling on her lineage when I was reading for others, and that for the clients that I worked with this deck for, there was a real sense of her energy reaching out to connect with them in session as well, and her teachers before her. And I realized yesterday, because I did work some private ceremony before, you know, getting the okay to make this video and make this more of a, make this part a public sharing. This deck really became, in a way that I hadn't planned on it becoming for me, a deck that I turned to when I really needed clear answers in my personal path as well. Kind of when I needed to talk to Levity, much like I might have when she was physically present as well. And while I was doing a client reading yesterday, my magician card dog-eared and folded over from this deck, and I had an awareness that that was the final time I would be working with the deck, because I do not want this deck to disintegrate. And I want to hold on to this deck intact for my teacher. It's actually wrapped in one of her silk scarves, which she gifted me with this deck. It may surprise some of you that this deck became so integral to my practice, because it is tradition. It's a straight up Rider-Waite-Smith deck from the 70s. It has those very, you know, acerbic, acidic yellows. It's nothing like aesthetically what I enjoy working with card-wise, but it carried my teacher's energy in it. And that connection to her, and that connection to commitment to being honest and forthright in the work. It's very much connected to reading and working with this deck for me. And I've never had to retire a deck in all these years of reading. I've had some decks that I've had to purchase or been gifted additional copies of for if they go, but I've never had one start to disintegrate to the point where it's time to stop reading with her. And this is a situation where You know, I have another Rider-Waite-Smith copy. I have the Pamela Coleman Smith Centennial. But I'm not going to be reading with it in the same way that I read with this one, because it holds Levity's energy and her love and her power. And so this video is really an ode to Levity as well, in honoring of her legacy, the legacy she left for her students. She was not every woman's teacher. And she was focused on the sacred feminine. She was a teacher for someone who was really committed to their path. She very powerfully taught me the weight and responsibility of holding space, and she forced as well as encouraged me to be public with my work in a way that was often very confronting and frightening for me, but she really helped me to do a lot of the hard work early on so that I didn't have to come up against that later on. And I can see now from my vantage point now that she did that with love, but there were many times that I was very incensed at Levity through various shamanic trainings. But her work made such a powerful difference. And for those of you that I've read with her deck, which is quite a few, and for the last minute kind of accidental pulls that have happened on the channel with this deck when I've been recording a video. For instance, recently there was an unboxing I did, and the last public pull with her was the 9 of Pentacles, which is much in keeping with my own life, and also I think a lesson that many of us who are drawn to the channel are trying to forge and craft for themselves. So I think it's appropriate that this deck was a public deck, because Levity was very comfortable in her own skin. And she would have wanted to connect with as many of you as she could have while she was physically here. And so in this way too, she gets to connect through the etheric realm. But this deck is officially retired. My OG 1970s Rider-Waite-Smith deck that was gifted me by one of my most powerful shamanic teachers is now retired, and she gets to rest in my teacher's silk scarf on my altar, and in vacation when she goes inside the chests where I stored my decks when they're in vacation mode. And now she will be a tool that is representative of the women that have come before me and the women that in my teaching work I honor and I'm aligned with. But wow, was it a moment yesterday when that card folded over and I knew I was going to lose the edge of that card, that it was time to stop shuffling her every day. And she has that beautiful worn-in feeling where the cardstock is so soft from just Levity shuffling and shuffling with it, and me shuffling and shuffling with it over the years. And it has the beautiful Ankh symbol on the back of it, which was a lineage that Levity was, oh my God, I lost the word, that Levity was on, you know, bringing me into the lineage of Isis. It was another public symbol for me, another sign that I couldn't avoid, that the Ankh on the back of this deck was really calling me to honor and claim my lineage as a priestess of Isis, which really is core sacred feminine. And you can trace back, you know, in its own way to the lineage of the Magdalene as well. So, which would very much have been in keeping with what Levity would have wanted me to be aware of as well. So, I wanted to make a video on this channel honoring this. This is the first deck I've had to retire in my life, and it's such a sacred, sacred deck. And so I had ceremony last night honoring this deck, and yesterday, after I finished that last reading to the client that received that last reading with this deck, it's such a big deal. It was such an occasion for me to mark, and bittersweet. It feels very bittersweet. I was, you know, had my time to be emotional with it yesterday, and tonight is the dark moon. And so I will be able to honor the releasing of the physical workings with this deck in the dark of the moon, which Levity was such a proponent of living a life following the cycles of the moon. And she would do big physical in-person circles around the cycles of the moon, and really was very stringent in the honoring of the cycles of the moon in her path. And so it makes sense that the final pull happened during the dark moon cycle, and that I will be able to honor her lineage, her power, her wisdom, and her encouragement to follow a path that is in alignment with your soul's purpose through this deck. She knew when she gifted me this deck what I would be doing with it, and that I needed to do that. And so it is with deep honor that I retire my OG 1970s Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It's been an honor to share her with you all on the channel, and to share a part of the lineage of my teacher, Levity. So I hope if you're watching this video, you can feel that sense of connection, that long line of crone energy within the shamanic tradition, the medicine women who are brave enough to tell the truth, to tell you the truth, and to help you find your voice. While I am sure I will work with other Rider-Waite-Smith decks, none will equal the feeling of shuffling this beautiful, powerful deck. So wherever you are out there in the world, I hope you are doing well today. I hope you feel inspired on your path with the sacred feminine through the lineage of our teachers, of those who have gone before us, and of our deity that supports us on our path to opening up to the spiral journey, the cyclical journey, and honoring those who have gone before us as part of who we are now. I am sending you, as always, much love and many blessings. I'll see you in the next video.